and welcome to Buzz Banter. I'm Das Hat.
And I'm Sam.
And today we bring you a little bit of a news update on a story that broke a little while back. And actually, a thumbs up to a developer.
Sort of.
Well, you're the one that just kind of threw this out there. So
yeah. Borderlands 2 has artwork. Now, they're one of the few developers that actually has reversible box art.
Which is very nice.
Unfortunately, the box art is stolen.
Okay.
An artist made it was discovered that another artist made this. I think it was through his DeviantArt account. I'm not too sure.
And it's essentially the same image, but the silhouette in the back's like C-3PO or something.
No, it's like the Iron Giant. They both look like the Iron Giant.
Yeah.
I think it's just a color change or something. It's like so...
They are incredibly similar to one another.
It's not even like funny on how similar they are. Yeah. But essentially what happened was, that's why we said it's kind of a thumbs up, is the artist came out and basically messaged them. It's like, you know, guys, I would have done this for you. You guys, I love Borderlands.
Yeah.
It's like, why'd you guys have to go and do this? And
then, he played it really cool. Like, kudos to him that he was just like, you know what, it happens. That's just like...
And the guy for Borderlands 2 realized this, and he basically said, this is BS, I want to work with you.
Yeah.
You're going to get him email, and I'm going to be doing some cleaning house. Like, he is essentially like, someone's getting one of these.
And we're hiring on that guy.
Yeah, it's just like, no, we're not, no. I do not pay you to steal.
Yeah.
I pay you to create our own damn artwork. Yeah, it was essentially that. It's just like, what the...
Yeah.
Well, the reason why we say this is because Take-Two, Borderlands, Gearbox, it was Gearbox specifically.
Gearbox, yeah.
Not Take-Two, I don't know why I said Take-Two. But yeah, Borderlands did this, and I have to give them kudos, because if this was EA, they would have sued the artist.
Yeah. There's been a lot of that going around. Not just like EA suing the artists, like the whole sort of rectangular phones are owned by Apple. I was at a Fido booth a few days back. I'm fairly sure that Blackberries were around before that.
Pretty sure HTC is making rectangles.
I'm fairly certain everyone is making
rectangles.
And consider, well, take a look at the date of when, whatever, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Borderlands. Now, now, the question has been raised whether or not this is Borderlands just kind of covering themselves and like trying to hold on to the good graces that the fan base has for them.
Yeah.
Because this is something that every developer at some point does. Like in comic books, figure tracing and all that, that's been going on since time immemorial.
Well, there was the big one in comic books, well, one of the big ones, where it was Gene Simmons' son essentially copied Bleach.
Yeah.
Many times.
This is something that happens. Now, that being said, was this a case of Gearbox just covering themselves and not trying to bury the story, or just like owning up to their mistake, or what? Is this essentially just a cheap way of garnering some praise when they stole it, and the only reason that they're doing this is because they were caught?
I think it depends on who you ask. I think if it was the guys from Gearbox, the former. If it was the guys who are publishing it, the latter.
Well, here's my take on that situation. The United Nations, what role does it fulfill?
Governing the world?
Well, hopefully. It's essentially just bringing people together so they can talk out their differences rather than declare war on one another.
It's done a great job on that.
It actually has. And here's why I say this. The amount of trade disputes that are resolved within the United Nations are never reported on. Simply because it's not newsworthy. You'll never actually... you probably have developers that see some very interesting concept art. Take, for example, BioShock. You can very easily conceive of an artist on DeviantArt when the first Bioshock came out, going, well, what if this was up in the air? And he made like some sketches and everything, put it up on DeviantArt, and it had like the floating cities and everything that you're seeing now in in the next Bioshock game. But in that case, who was it done by?
I don't know. I'm still wondering where the United Nations thing came in.
No, I'm getting to that. Basically, the developer of Bioshock sees that and says, you know what, that's not a bad idea, so let's hire him on. And because they didn't steal anything, they just hired him from the beginning. You don't hear about this. Because there's no controversy in it.
Well,
you hear about news stories because they're controversial, because they're meant to get people upset or cause some sort of reaction in people. And what I'm saying is, you probably have hundreds of examples of people that are hired on because they have cool concept art, or the developer likes the ideas that they have, and they just hire them. And then you have this example where someone in the development team stole this guy's ideas, and to cover themselves, or to do like proper police work or whatever, simply because you can raise that question of it, that's why it's being reported on.
Yeah. Well, there are two things with that. One, for the latter that you mentioned, it really goes to like how much of development, how much of the team actually knew it was taken,
right,
and were called out on, if that actually was, or if this was just a guy's like, this was mine all along.
Yeah.
It could be that, like, where it's just one of the artists was just like being a dick. Or it could be another way is just to set up the former of what you said. The reason why that's usually not reported on isn't just because it's not controversial, but it's usually like, to go to like a Dark Knight kind of thing, like how that kind of went on, like it's kind of expected to happen. We expect, like, if you like a guy's art and you want to use that art, you would hire that guy, not steal it.
No,
stealing is kind of like, you don't expect that, that's against something.
But that's exactly my point. Yeah. When they do hire on the guy because they like the art, that's never reported.
Well, because it's expected. It's just like, well, like, why is that news? That's like, yeah, of course they would. Why wouldn't they?
But at the same time, theft in any sort of entertainment industry is also expected. Montopia.
Yeah, that's being reported.
Yeah, that's being reported, but it is something else that you expect.
It kind of comes down to when it's just straight up theft and when it's like, it gets into a really gray area.
It does go into a gray area, but my point is that this whole sort of controversy as to whether Gearbox is actually just a soulless corporation that's trying to show it has heart when it maybe doesn't. It's not an actual conversation, simply because this is the way that news media works.
Yeah. Well, I still think it's good on them that they would do that.
Yes,
I would like to believe that it was just this one artist being a dick.
Well, which is honestly usually the case. It's usually one or two people or a small group that ruins it for everybody else.
Yeah, like, I would think that he would have been, like, this is what I mean, like, if this wasn't a news story and it wasn't stolen and someone else drew this, they would have contacted the guy, asked him if it was okay.
Yeah.
And most likely he would have said yes, he would have loved to have seen his art if they just, like, put his name on it or something.
Yeah.
But the fact that they didn't means that's why it's newsworthy. Because that seems to be, that's what I think happened. I don't know what actually happened. Like, I think it was literally a guy who...
unfortunately, we don't have bugs in Gearbox's office room.
Yeah.
The ones in the Ubisoft room have been... Oh, well, whatever.
Well, Ubisoft, it's like, they make great games, but they have horrible... They're slowly turning into EA.
That's mostly because EA is slowly consuming them, one little bite at a time.
They did that to BioWare. But I think Ubisoft is still separate. They're just like... EA will slowly die, and Ubisoft will slowly take their place as the primeval. You know, it's like when Bal replaced Diablo.
Anyway.
Just saying.
Anyway, so yeah, in the Borderlands 2 reverse art debate, that's our take on it.
I think it's a cool thing that they got this guy.
Yeah.
They're all really cool about it.
Yeah, both, not only the guy, but the corporation itself. Good on them for doing the right thing in a bad situation. That being said,
EA, take notes.
EA, take notes, and you guys do the right thing. Like, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, all that fun stuff. All the links are below, and the buttons are there and there. Until next time, I'm Das Hat.
And I'm Sam.
And we will see you when we see you.
Like because of our hats.